across the country, and it's no laughing matter. There are concerns that the trend will grow as Halloween approaches.
It's a trend spooking the nation. Creepy clown sightings. Police and Homeland Security are investigating scary Instagram posts in Philadelphia. The unusual reports started surfacing back in August in Greenville, South Carolina. Children told police that clowns tried luring them into woods by offering money. Police have arrested at least 12 people across the United States.
What's going on, everybody? Well, welcome back to the channel. We're gonna get going on building this terrarium by first starting by cleaning this glass really well. We're gonna use some of this API safe and easy glass cleaner because this stuff is fantastic for cleaning both the inside and outside of an aquarium. Now that we have it clean, we want to take a razor scraper blade and just make sure that we have nothing left, no residue whatsoever left on this glass. We're going to use some of this application solution, or you can use a spray bottle with some soapy water. You want to wet down the glass really well because we're going to apply some window film. We're going to make this a frosted glass back. I personally squeegee from the middle out. I'm not sure that this is the right method, but it's the method I use. I'm gonna take that razor scraper and I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna cut the edges of this all the way up to the glass just to give it a nice finish. Now that we have everything cleaned off, we're just going to dry it up and get ready to start this false bottom. We are going to make this a bioactive terrarium, so we're going to have this false bottom in here. And I'm just using some drainage rock in the bottom. We wanted it about 1 rock deep, basically. So just a nice layer right across the bottom. We'll come back in with this weed barrier to go right over top of this rock, and this will provide the barrier between the rock and our soil. And I'm using this organic seed starting mix by Jiffy, and that's just simply because, well, it's nothing more than sphagnum moss, coconut coir, and a little bit of perlite, and it does fantastic for holding moisture. So now that we got this all nice and mixed up with some water, it's nice and saturated, we're just gonna come in here and lay this right over top of our weed barrier. Figuring out the hardscape is probably the most difficult part, and you go through multiple iterations until you find exactly what you're looking for. And as you can see here, I went from using a rust stone to a dragon stone. Now that I have the dragon stone in here, I'm trying to create a slate walking path or staircase up to the top of this, and you'll kind of see and understand why once we get finished with it. I had to break it down and move it because it just wasn't getting the height I needed. And honestly, this slate stone that I use, it's a piece of slate flooring from like Home Depot, and you just bust it up into small little pieces. This stuff breaks so easily. And as you can see, we needed a staircase to get up to our creepy little clown. Now, a lot of the plants that I'm planting today are going to be 2-inch potted plants from our local nursery, and unfortunately this particular vendor of plants never labels them, so I have no idea what any of these are. If you happen to recognize one of them, make sure you comment below and let me know what it is. Another thing I've done is I've actually added some electronics to this, something I've never done before, and you'll see these in a minute. They've already been put in here to an extent. You can see one on the left side of this tank, and it is a light post. Checking out our DIY bin terrarium to grab a little plants out of here. I'm going to take some of this Carolina's ponyfoot, and that is just simply because this stuff grows fantastic. It does so well in a terrarium, as you can see, and then a little bit of cushion moss that I've propagated. So we're going to outline the staircase with this Carolina's ponyfoot, and then we're going to start stuffing this moss into some of these cracks and crevices on this dragonstone. Little sheet moss back here in the corner just to hide things. Also, if you haven't visited the csbrand.com, make sure you do that now and pick up some Christopher Scott merch. Right now what I'm doing is just digging out some of this substrate or soil, and then I'm going to line it with some more of this Carolina's ponyfoot, because what we're trying to do is basically create a gravel walk path. Now to keep everything at scale, what I'm going to do is remove some of these larger stones and just leave the smaller ones behind. Now up here at the top, I'm adding a little bit of the soil just over top of the rock because I'm going to lay some sheet moss right over here so it can kind of grow down the side of this mountainous area, if you will. Just continuing to add a little moss elements to it. So now what I'm doing is chopping up some of this cypress mulch. Once again, just to keep it to scale, and we're filling in just detail areas with some of this mulch. Coming back in and adding a little detail rock just along the side of this staircase. I wanted to add a little wood element just coming out of the top of this rock structure, trying to hide that up underneath the moss a little bit just to give it a more natural look.
All right, well now that we have this thing completely finished, there's a couple more things that we need to do. Number one is we need to go ahead and get this thing completely wet down. That way we can get some water in the drainage layer, which will help with the condensation within this terrarium. The other part is we need to make this thing bioactive, and we'll do that in just a moment. So let's start with wetting this thing down really well. So this aquarium that we used for this terrarium actually comes with a glass top. It does not completely close it off, but it does a pretty good job. And it'll hold enough moisture in here to allow this terrarium to thrive. All right, well now that this thing is completely done, the last thing we need to do here is actually make this thing bioactive. And to do that, we just simply need to add a couple of creatures. And where we're gonna get those creatures are right here from our DIY bin terrarium setup, as this thing is completely full of all kinds of great creatures, such as orange isopods, dairy cow isopods, and a whole bunch of babies, as well as a ton of springtails. So we want to focus under some of this cork. Actually, there's one running across right there, if you can see it. And there's another one right there. And if we lift this up, I have a feeling we're going to find a whole bunch more. Oh, there's a cool white one. And they are all over the place in here, actually. And we're just going to grab some of these guys and throw these in there. All right, so what we have is we have 4 dairy cow isopods and then a whole bunch of dirt from this DIY terrarium, which is going to include a whole bunch of little springtails. So in fact, you see the little white dots moving around in here. Those are the springtails. The springtails are going to keep the mold under control in here, and the isopods are going to keep all of the dead material, plant material and such under control. It's been a couple of days since we set this thing up, and if you can see, the big purple flowers up here are opening up. All the plants are standing up. We have these plants over here. The little Carolina pony's foot here is standing up as well. But everything in here looks fantastic. It all looks so good. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and dump these guys in here. And what I'm gonna do with this is I'm gonna simply just dump this in the back corner so I can get all of that dirt in there. And as you can see, these isopods are making short work of finding somewhere to go, and they will all be good. We're gonna find nice places to hide. They'll start to breed in here, and we'll be overrun with isopods within no time. And there we go. Our finished Halloween terrarium, which is super cool. So we have a little bit of some sheet moss here in the front with our little stone path and our kids walking up as if they're going up to a house to trick or treat. We have our little gargoyle lamp posts, which I've never added any kind of lighting or electricity to a terrarium before, but I think it turned out super cool. And so we have our little stone path, our steps up to where our creepy looking clown is up there just waiting for the kids. And then we have this pumpkin that's just, you know, Halloween with some really cool plants. So I unfortunately don't know what these plants are, so if you happen to know what any of these are, make sure you comment below and let me know. But we have this little fern here. I think that this is a lemon button fern. We have another little fern up here and then one up here. I do know that that back there is a pink splash or a pink vein plant. This over here I put in from my terrarium, which is actually some Carolina pony's foot. And that stuff will do really well in here. That's the same thing that's up here in the foreground as well. But this long stem plant that's kind of got a bulbous root system on it, which is what's up there behind the pumpkin as well, or the jack-o'-lantern. And then this really cool purple plant. That thing is super neat. I love the contrast of the leaves and the different colorations there. So like I said, if you happen to know what any of that stuff is, make sure you let me know. Got a little bit of pillow moss right here on the side and in the foreground, and then some sheet moss up here on top of this dragonstone as well. But all in all, I think that this thing turned out absolutely epic. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you let me know in the comments what you guys thought. Now, of course, this is a terrarium, not an aquarium. I have a Halloween themed aquarium coming out in the next video. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you turn on that notification bell, as well as make sure you go follow me on Instagram. I actually posted portions of this build on Instagram prior to releasing this video. So if you were following me over there, you'd be able to see this stuff early. So make sure you go follow us everywhere. You can find links to all of our social media in the description of every video. Also, make sure you go and check out the csbrand.com. It has launched at this point, and all the merch and everything is available. So make sure you go check that out as well. And with all that, guys, thank you very much for everything. Thank you for the support, and we will see you next time.